Hello, hello. I'm Strider, your host here at Author in the Headlights, and thank you for joining us. And for those of you new, why don't you hit that subscribe button down there and you won't miss a single episode. They're entertaining, they're informative. And today we have return guest, Kevin G. Chapman.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, we had you earlier in this year, which was fun. We actually had a really great interview. And now you're back. And that is because I said, get a hold of me when your book comes out. And you did. So, right there behind you is Double Takedown. And that's number 6 in your Mike Stoneman thriller series.
That is correct. Book number 6.
All right. Hey, since we're already right into that, give us some history.
Well, I had taken a little hiatus from Mike Stoneman. The last two books that I wrote were standalone novels that were not related to the Mike Stoneman series. As it turned out, my the book number 5, Perilous Gambit, ended up in January of 2020. That was the time signature of the end of that book.
On with the thriller series. That's great. And number
It,
6, that's a lot of determination to get that far in a series.
my goal now is to do 5 more. I want to get to 10, and I have a pretty
Ooh,
good idea of where the plot arcs are going to go for the characters and their relationships between now and book 10. So this is my goal.
all right. Hey, I would like to break off right there from that particular book into that series concept because Author in the Headlights is for readers and writers. And I know there's a lot of writers out there that do series. And how do you plot that out that far? You said, I've got this character arc, this whole story arc. How do you do that?
Well, it really was organic in the first 5 books, where I wrote the first book and I very optimistically subtitled it A Mike Stoneman Thriller, hoping that there might be another one, but without any necessary expectations about what it would be or whether there would be another one. But once I got to book 2, I realized that these characters had to grow and there had to be changes in their lives. And it was really the characters and their relationships with one another that was going to drive readers and get
Mhm.
people interested in the story. So by about book 3, I knew where I was going to get to with these characters eventually, and I got there in book 5, and I got to a sort of a pausing point in those relationship developments. But now, after having done that and gone through it and realizing that that's really the soul of the stories is the characters and what happens to them. I really spent some of that COVID years plotting out where do I want these characters to get to in books 6 through 10. And that I've got a pretty good idea. We'll see what happens.
So you already have the storylines figured out, and then you just have to figure out the little humps and how to get there. Is that how you do it?
Well, I would say no as to each book. I'm working on book 7 now, tentatively titled Treacherous Hack. And so that book is plotted, it's outlined, and I'm working on the dialogue and the writing. I don't know what the plot is going to be, the main plot of books 8, 9, and 10. I haven't
Mhm.
figured out what the murders are going to be, what the investigations are going to look like.
It is
But
a
I
thriller. Yeah.
Yeah, but I know where the characters are going to go. I have a whole bunch of notes about things that are going to happen in the relationship between Jason Dixon, who's Mike's partner, and his wife, and they have a child, and they have a mother who they live with, and I know what's going to happen to them, and I know what's going to happen with Mike and his romantic interest, Michelle McNeil, who is the county medical examiner. So I have it worked out where they're all going to get to in book 10. But I don't know how they're going to get there because it all depends on how it meshes with whatever the main plot is going to be of each of those books. And those aren't quite, pre-scripted at this point.
And books do tend to write themselves once you get into them. That's what I have found. They kind of just carry themselves along, and it's like, wow, that's cool. I like where that's going, but not everybody does it the same.
There's a lot of ways to get to the same end result, but you're right. Sometimes you're writing a scene and there'll be a line of dialogue that will just take you in a direction where you need to finish that thought or finish that relationship point, and it might get you to a particular place a little faster than you thought you were going to get there, or it may take you in a slightly different direction than you thought you were going to go in. But eventually, you'll meander back to the place you want to be. But you're right. Sometimes the characters' voices just come out and they say things, and you look at the words that you just typed and you said, "Oh, wow, okay, that's interesting."
Absolutely. I never thought of that. That just goes. That's good. So, how detailed do you get your outlines before you actually start writing?
My outlines are basically storyboards, as if I was plotting a movie. So each chapter, each scene within each chapter, I have to write down what's going to happen. What are the major events that are going to take place during this scene? And so the outline for the book I'm writing right now, the book seven, is about 35 pages long. So it's a lot of words on the
That's a lot
page
of
that are
outline.
it's a lot of outline, but I mean, basically, what happens is when I start to write the text, I'll take the outline for that particular chapter and just put it down on the page, and then start writing the detail to fill in all of the plot points that are gonna, that are already on the page there. This is what's gonna happen in this chapter, and now I just have to write how it actually plays out.
You outline chapter by chapter, so you know basically what each chapter is going to do.
Yeah, and some chapters have multiple scenes. And
Mhm.
sometimes I will write a chapter and look at it and it's too long and I break it up into multiple chapters just because it doesn't make sense to have a chapter that's as long as it turned out to be.
Yeah. Do you have a sweet spot for, say, word count per chapter?
Oh, 2,500 words, I'd say,
Mhm.
is probably the between 2,000 and 2,500 words is great. But sometimes chapters take longer. And I do notice that at the end of books, when I'm getting to the big climax of a book, the chapters tend to get shorter,
Yes.
or tend to get broken into a lot of sub scenes within chapters as the pace
As it's
is really ramping
tightening
up.
up. Absolutely. So you've just finished your six books on the Mike Stoneman thriller series, but you've got some other singles. Do you have a future of, well, you've got continuation of this Mike Stoneman series to 10. Is that where you're going to be headed for the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think the next couple of years are going to be trying to get to the conclusion of the Mike Stoneman thriller series, and the conclusion really is the conclusion of the Mike Stoneman and Jason Dixon story. And by the end of book 10, I want to be, not that they're never going to see each other again, not that they're never going to be friends again, but they're not going to be partners anymore. That's a spoiler. Something's going to happen such that at the end of book 10, Mike and Jason are no longer going to be partners, and then we'll see what happens. I might spin off Jason into his own series. I
Mm-hmm.
might have Mike get a new partner and continue on with Mike in his own series. Or I might say, you know what, 10's enough. That's a good solid series for people to read, and let me just find something totally different to go write. I have not even thought about exactly what's going to happen after book 10, because at this rate I'm doing about one book a year, and I'm working on number seven, so that means it's going to be 4 years before I'm done
That's
with
true.
book
We'll see
10.
what happens. Now, you're pretty successful with your thriller series. Maybe a little kind of a personal question. You have a publisher, you privately published yourself. What method do you have?
I am self-published. I did spend some time trying to get a literary agent, trying to get into a big publisher, was unsuccessful. And part of why I was unsuccessful is that I didn't start at the beginning. I was told by
Yep.
many agents that one of the problems for me was that I'd already self-published the first couple of books in the series at that point, and big publishers aren't interested in jumping in the middle of a series. And I get that. I understand that.
Yep.
And I think if I had done it, if I had it to do over again, I probably would have written the first two books before publishing either of them, and then spend some time trying to get a legit publisher to be interested in those two books as the first two books in what would be a longer series. I
Yeah.
probably would have had more success at that point, but I just didn't know any better. And so I was in a rush to get that first book in the series out. And that ultimately, I think, hurt me in the quest to get a legit publisher. But that's okay. I'm comfortable being self-published. I've set up a little LLC publishing company called First Legacy Publishing, and I'm happy enough doing it myself at this point.
I've run into that problem myself, and I do understand very much. And I publish, self-publish at this point, but I'm breaking off a new series, and I'm going to look for agency there because I'd like to know both sides of the story. Here at Author in the Headlights, it'd be nice to have both sides to be able to talk more informatively. What do you think helped you reach the stage of authorship where you are now, where you are successful in it? You have stories that people follow. You've got 6 series set plus singles out there. What got you where you are?
Well, I mean, first thing is obviously you've got to spend time on it and you've got to work hard at the writing craft. I feel like I have gotten better as I've been doing it. The more you do it, the better you get.
True.
But I've also spent a lot of time reading and studying other authors and books about writing and books about how to write good dialogue and uh, reading articles and trying to be a student of the process, and that I think has made it better. But as you go through and you get more people and you get more followers, it snowballs on itself. Even things like just getting the proofreading done for my books. I have a wonderful editor. She's terrific about helping me with the plot points and the characters and all of the things that editors do. But the first book still needed a lot of work. And even after the first version of the first book was done, there were still problems with it. I'm now at a point where I've got people who will be beta readers for me, who will read early drafts, who will help me work on the plot points and work on the holes and tighten up things that are dull, even long before it gets to the editor. And then
Mm.
after my editor is done, I've got a little cadre of readers whose sole purpose in life is to read the final version of the book and find all the typos so that we can clean up all those pesky little blemishes that are
They
in the
happen.
text, little mistakes. So now I've got a whole bunch of people who do that and help me. And so the quality of the book that I just published is substantially better than the quality of the very first book in the series, which now was
Yes.
7 years ago.
Yes. Kevin, it has been great again. You've got that great book number 6 coming out, Double Takedown. But you've also got, oh my gosh, Righteous Assassin, Lethal Voyage, Fool Me Twice, Perilous Gambit, Deadly Enterprise. That's just in the Mike Stoneman series. A Legacy of One. What else? Dead Winter.
The Other Murder was that
The
last
Other
year's book.
Murder.
So
That's
that
right.
was terrific.
Yeah.
And you
So,
can find them all on my website, which is very easy. It's kevingchapman.com. So
all
you
right.
can find me, you can order books there, you can find links to freebies
And
and
you
free
also
previews.
heard that he's looking for people to help him, to do those first takes and beta read, things like that, connecting there. Also through DurhamPublishing.com, you can look through there and drop me a line. And all your books are there. I think most of them, at least, on DurhamPublish.com's bookstore. You can link and find them there, other than his site, as well as, of course, everywhere else they are. Look them up.
Terrific.
Right, says Kevin G. Chapman, because Kevin Chapman is another author. And so make sure you get the G in there. I have learned that searching for his books. Kevin,
Well, it's been a
thank you.
pleasure to talk to you, Strider. I love the fact you do these podcasts. They're a pleasure to listen to, and I will be looking forward to more in the future from other authors besides me as well.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for spending your day and good luck with it. I know it's
Thank,
already out there.
thank you very much.
Okay. And thank you for listening to us here at Author in the Headlights, sponsored by DurhamandPublishing.com. Check out our books there. Check out our authors resources page for those of you that are authors and need some assistance or looking for things in your authorship. It's there. It just takes you right to those web pages. And until next time, I'm Strider, and thank you, Kevin. Sponsored by DurhamandPublishing.com.